Hey, what's happening? Steve Mayeda here with video 2 with our identity workshop, where we're taking one aspect of our identity, one small part, exploring it and building an entire social dynamic off of that. So we started off with the topic of attraction. Okay, so the idea of attraction that I basically workshopped was that I'm really attracted to a woman's beauty, her facial features. A great body is always a plus, but the first thing that I'm going to notice is actually how she carries herself, her presence, and her natural beauty. And when I really think about it, attraction has to do with how we interact, how we sync up, how we exchange, how she affects me, I affect her, all that fun stuff. And as I dove deeper, it had even more to do with my motive. What if my goal was just to sleep with her? Then a lot of those qualities aren't as important. What if my motive is to have a relationship? Well, what type of relationship? Well, then we're going to have to sync up on different things. So basically, I took my idea, my view of what is attractive, explored it, and came up with a whole bunch of good stuff that we're going to learn how to communicate with. In fact, very specifically, we're going to add the social dynamics of opening and engaging. We're going to learn teasing and small talk. We're going to learn how to empower ourselves in transition, build rapport and connection, and intent. Okay, so let's go over some examples of how this is going to work. And what I want you to do right now, pause the video, take out a pen and paper, get ready to study some of this stuff because we're going to cover a lot. And I actually want you to be able to put it into your own words. And then after you do that, go out and try it. Okay, so the first thing here that we start with is opening and engaging. And we're going to do that with a question, technically an opinion opener. Now, I want you to get out of the mindset of the whole pickup mentality and openers and all that sort of stuff, but we're just going to open and engage. We want to go and talk to somebody. So it's real simple. Whether it's in a nightclub, it's in the daytime, whatever it is, we're going to basically say this. We're going to say, hey, look, I got a question for you. What is the most attractive quality about a guy? Now, it's a very easy question to ask and also a very easy question to answer. Most women are going to answer it really right away. So let's say we're at a restaurant and our waitress is somebody that's really attractive and we actually want to know, we want to build a connection with her based off of this. And we say, hey, I got a question for you. What's the most attractive quality about a guy? Now, let's say we're at a nightclub, all right? High stimuli, a whole bunch of people there. There's 3 girls at a bar and we go, hey guys, I got a question for you. What is the most attractive quality about a guy? So in many situations, you can make this work, and really how to think about it, it's not exactly what you say, it's about how you project yourself. So our main goal in any opening and engaging situation is to build some rapport in isolation. It's not to do the opener right, it's not to do it awesome, it's not to get a whole bunch of attention, it's to get enough attention so that we can move to isolation and rapport, because that's where all the good work's going to get done. But because we just met this person, especially 3 girls at a bar or a girl in a cafe or a girl on a train stop, something like that, we might need some teasing and we might need some small talk. So the basic idea of teasing and small talk is we want all of those teases, it's a push-pull reaction, to move in the direction of rapport, to move in the topic that we want to talk about, which is our viewpoints on attraction. So here we have a couple of teases. Let's say we go up to 3 girls at a bar at a nightclub and we say, hey, I got a question for you ladies. What is the most attractive quality about a guy? They start to answer. They're a little bit surprised. We say, oh man, you're not one of those girls that attracts guys who cheats all the time. Or maybe we're in a different situation. We're at a cafe and we see somebody. We need to take a break. We're doing some work. And we say, hey, I got a question. What is the most attractive quality about a guy? She's thrown by the question a little bit. She doesn't really know how to answer. And we just say, well, wait a minute. Don't tell me you're one of those people that is really into confidence, humor, all that sort of stuff, but you tend to attract like only superficial people. So the main point of teasing, small talk, all this sort of social banter is not to get the banter right, not to get the teasing right, not to get a certain level of value, but to get her to pay attention enough so that we could transition to empower ourselves and gain some rapport. So I don't want you to put too much thought to it, but you're going to need it in order to move your conversations along. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to empower in transition. And this is the part where I want you to pay attention most. This is where we truly get unique in how our social dynamic is structured and where we are the value, who we are, our life experience, and highlighting that is truly the most valuable part of this communication and connection. So how we're going to do that is we're going to do the social dynamic of grounding and sharing my perspective. And it's really simple. As soon as we can in this conversation, we're going to basically state our perspective on this. So for instance, it might go something like this. We say, hey, this is kind of an odd question, but I got to ask a stranger, what is the most attractive quality about men? I'm just curious to know. We build some small talk and some banter and say, oh man, I didn't mean to catch you off guard or anything like that, but it's just an easy question. I needed to take a break and, I'm a little bit rattled from writing all day, But what do you think about that? So let's say she starts to answer and she's like, oh, it's a weird question, da 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 da. And I say, well, look, don't say confidence and humor because everybody says confidence and humor. And I tend to see that the people that say confidence and humor might be the most superficial people, but I can tell you're not one of those. There's a little bit of back and forth. And then I'm going to switch to empowering and transitioning. So I might say something like, I think people know what they're attracted to, but they never really go for it. For instance, we all like good looking people. We all like confident people. But for me, the most attractive quality is how I connect with somebody, how we interact. And, for instance, I have different connections and different interactions with different people. Now, let's say we're actually at a nightclub. There's higher stimuli because I always get this question. People say this won't work in a nightclub. Man, let me prove you wrong. You go up to a few girls and you say like, hey, I have a question. What's the most attractive quality about a man? They get a couple answers. You say, you're going to say confidence. You're going to say humor, height, all that sort of stuff. But really, like, I want to know what you think is most attractive. And actually, let me rephrase this. Let me empower myself a little bit better. In fact, you come over here because I think you're going to give me probably either the worst answer or the best answer, but come here for a second. So I try and get isolation as quick as possible. And I say, look, attraction, of course, it's about looks, it's about confidence, it's about all these superficial things, but really what it's about is how we interact with somebody. So like we're at a club, you're an attractive chick, you get hit on all the time, but what to you makes the most like attractive experience, the most attractive interaction with somebody? Now, in that situation, I actually ended it with a question, which is directly moving into what we're going to do next. But I want you to get the idea down to start empowering yourself with your perspective. Start sharing what you think and you believe about the topics that are important in your life with people. So if you did the exercise and actually wrote down what you're attracted to emotionally, physically, and mentally, what I want you to do now is learn how to empower that. Learn how to do this part right here on the screen. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to learn to connect. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use the social dynamic of rapport cycling. It's a technique that I invented. I came up with it. That's a structured conversation that will teach you how to basically very easily, very quickly, in a matter of just a few minutes of meeting somebody, build immense levels of rapport and connection with them. It can get very complex, but in its simplest form, it's a question, a ground, and a challenge. And when we get deep enough and we find out that we like the person, we want a definition or some intent to be stated. So let's just say I got done with stating my perspective on attraction. Now I want to move into that rapport cycle. I could say, hey, I have a question for you. Okay, we all know what we think is attractive, but how often do we get that? So it says here she answers or she thinks about it, and that's really all that we need for us to move on to the next part, which is the ground. And that would go something like this. Like I was saying, I'm attracted to a woman's beauty, her facial features, but really what I'm attracted to is how she connects to that beauty, how we interact with the inner parts of her. And actually, let me ask you this, is when was the last time somebody connected with the beauty inside you? All right, so you guys might be thinking, wow, that's some like pretty deep stuff really quick, and it is. However, it's something that I do all the time, and to be honest, I don't want to waste time with who I am and what I feel. I want to boldly express who I am and what I think in an effective way that people can communicate with. I basically want to have a conversation as quick as possible with the side of her that is making decisions on her emotions, her image of her real self, who she is as a person, and her drive and ambition. And the reason why I want that is because I want to connect with the real her. I don't want to build my social relationships, my sexual relationships, the friendships that I make based on superficialities. I want to talk to the core person, communicate with that as quick as possible. So as soon as I've started communicating with the core of somebody, I really get to know them. I can sense who they are, and I like that. I want to put a definition on it. I want to state intent. And now how I'm going to do that is basically I'm going to tell her that. I'm going to tell her based on my views of attraction, based on my views of myself and who I am, that I like her and want to see her again. Real simple recipe. And here's the example of how I would do that. Look, I didn't mean to put you off by asking all those deep questions and putting you on the spot. But look, I can tell you're somebody that has some amazing things about you that really have me wanting to know more. So let me get your number and we'll try and meet up later this week. Now, our goal of intent is to build a definition to the connection and move the interaction in the right direction. When I can start living my life that way, man, it starts to get good. So really quickly, let's go back and revisit my view of attraction. Remember, my view of attraction was that, I noticed a woman's facial features first, the beauty and how she carried herself, and actually how we interacted and exchanged upon that was the most important. What also is important is my motivation. Is it somebody that I want to date? Is it somebody that I want to sleep with? What kind of relationship do I want to have with this person? So we took all of that, added some social dynamics to it of how to open and engage, build some small talk, empower and transition, move to connection, and state intent, all based on that. Now look, Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was the skill set of being able to have massive connections with people. But if you start with empowering your identity, you truly are starting off with the right foot. You're going to have an easier time, you're going to have a better time, and you're actually going to get better results than anything else. Every connection that you have, all the way from your friendships to social circles to your sexual life, is going to be fulfilling. You can only get that when you're truly empowering your identity. And I know it was a lot of stuff that we covered, but when you think about it, if you give it 3 months and really practice it, you're going to get it. Just imagine in 3 months' time, you could build a skill set to truly project who you are, connect with the world in any situation, whether it's to make better friends, to build more connections, being a more empowered person, have a great dating life, a great sex life, any of those things. If you start with empowering who you are and learn a skill set of social dynamics that truly accents that, you will have a truly amazing life. That's why we call this the social dynamic to be the better man. I'm Steve Mayeda. Thanks for watching. Live your life and own it.